I'm Natasha, and if you're watching this, I'm going to talk about the planet Saturn. So, to start off with, what is Saturn? So, I like to explain if Saturn was an actual human figure or archetype, Saturn would be a very restrictive, kind of stoic, reserved kind of person. This is the kind of person, if Saturn was a human being, this person would have like 2, 3 outfits in their closet and they would just put that on rotation. They'd only own 1 or 2 pairs of shoes. They would be so focused on working on their craft or whatever they're passionate about every single day, almost all day long, to do the hard work, figure out the setbacks, the hardships, the weird things that they didn't know about before every single day in order to master whatever craft or thing that they are trying to develop, grow, build, whatever it is, into something a lot bigger. And so Saturn energy, if it was like a person, understands this hard dedication that is so freaking slow. It is not short-term fast. It is thinking about longevity, what is going to last the test of time, what is going to be durable and reliable, what is going to build a very strong foundation, this strong basis in order to then build up. But if your foundation is really weak or it was rushed, you didn't think about all the little things and details and all these different outliers that you might not encounter on a regular day basis. And sometimes that just requires experience and life experience, and things in the world also change, and then you have to maneuver around things like that. So Saturn understands this long, very hard, restrictive energy, but it is something that it is willing to work on. It is something that it is passionate about in order to do it. Otherwise, if you don't care about it, usually you have zero motivation to even try, but Saturn understands if you really want something, like you really want it, and it seems so unreachable and far away, well, you still have to start somewhere. You have to figure out the process, try it, actually get out there and try try again, but never quit, never change your mind, not like, oh, I don't think this is for me because it was hard. No, Saturn energy understands that you have to push through hardship. You have to be restricted and squeezed. So Saturn, just like the figure that only owns 2 outfits in their closet, they know that even though they want all these things, they want nice things, they want luxury, like a luxury lifestyle, they want a lot of money, they want status, that you just don't get there if you started from absolutely nothing. They didn't get an inheritance of like, oh, all the work is done, and so you just get to enjoy. That's not Saturn. So Saturn understands that if I want something in the long run that's going to last and be secured or make me feel successful, then I'm going to spend, a period of time or maybe a long time being very restrictive. Like, even though I want something and I have the money to go get it, that doesn't mean I go get it. That's Saturn. It's like, no, I have to restrict right now. I need to save 90% of my income in order to start this business that I'm so devoted to. It is the, Jeff Bezos in an office starting from nothing. It is all these big CEOs that started from nothing and now they're huge empires, but nobody really wants to really look and feel the burden and pain and hardship of the process. but that is Saturn energy. And Saturn takes about 30 years to go through all of the 12 zodiac signs. So that's how slow it is. So everyone experiences their first Saturn return in the age bubble of 30. You might enter your Saturn return lesson around the age 27, 28, and you might think, this is great, this is what I want, or whatever. And then a little bit after the age of 30, 31, 32, 33, it plays out differently based on what lessons are you supposed to be learning, or what did you avoid, or you just didn't quite get it without this real life experience. And so after that, you might have a different shift in perspective. You become more of a real adult, not this paper legal adult, like you're 18, therefore you're an adult in the eyes of the government. As a more mature human being, you've kind of crossed that little mountain of maturity in some way, like another level. Not saying that if you're younger than 30, that you're not mature. That's not what I'm saying. But, you go through this Saturn return approximately every 30 years. Usually Saturn's energy gets a little bit lighter after the age of 40, like around 40 and after, and so it just takes a really long time. It is something you have to work on. If you know what zodiac sign your Saturn is in and what house it is in, you can kind of understand what struggles you're trying to learn. And usually it's very hard. It's not easy for you, or it doesn't come easy for you. You always have to work really hard in this department in life, no matter how hard you try, and it'll just keep testing you. Saturn is like the strictest teacher in school, and nobody wants this teacher. But the teacher is that way because that person actually wants you to do really well. Like if you had the strictest teacher in high school and you survived that teacher and they put all these red marks, all these lines, and you thought you did so well, and you get it back and you're like, I got a freaking D or an F, and there's all these lines, and like, how can I do extra credit or whatever? And you turn it in and you get it back and you get even more red lines. You're like, and then you see Jilly Bo Bob and Sally Mae Sue in the other class with one of the most fun, easy teachers, and they're getting A's and they hardly have to do anything, and you're like, ugh, it's not fair. Like, this teacher is going to ruin my GPA and I'm not going to be able to get into the college that I want because I just happen to get a really hard teacher. But if you really survived that really strict Saturn teacher who did not take it easy on you because they wanted you to survive, they wanted to teach you the things the right way so well right now while you were under their wing, under their guardianship. So this way, when you're off in the real world where life is actually hard, it's not that bad because you actually went through brutal training under the shelter or mentorship of a teacher, if they actually approached it like a mentor, because I know not all teachers have the time to do stuff like that or care, So, that is Saturn. It is brutal. It's hard. It's nitpicky. It's a pain in the butt. And it keeps kind of like setting you back over and over and over, delays. It makes you end up doing more work. You have to try and fix the work that you already thought you did, and you don't even know what you're doing wrong because you thought you were doing pretty well, and they have to find something else for them to nitpick at you, And so once you go to college or whatever, you survived. It's a piece of cake. College is a piece of cake because you did the brutal training. You're already prepared, while the other Sally Mae Sue, whoever, Billy Joe Bob, went to the easy teacher, and now they're struggling. They're making D's and F's, having to repeat classes, pay for more tuition. They're not able to have fun in college and go to parties and stuff because they're so busy now trying to figure it out because they got the easy way in high school. So that's another way to kind of try and comprehend this Saturn archetype, because Saturn is freaking slow. It is no fun. It always has setbacks. It makes you feel really squeezed wherever it is. Like if you have Saturn in the 5th house, the house of fun, house of play, dating, self-expression, it's the Leo house. It's going to be like, I'm not allowed to have fun, and it's all these different outliers that it's not even your fault. It's just, it's happening to you, and or maybe you chose something, you chose to get married and you chose to have a kid, and now you have to be more responsible. There's less time to just go off and have fun and do whatever you want. You have responsibility, because Saturn is responsibility, duty, burdens, restrictions, like, oh, we need to go to the doctor's appointment, or, we have to say, oh, I'm sorry, we can't go to this party because my kid is sick and I don't want to get y'all sick, and blah, blah, blah. It is that responsibility, that squeeze, restriction in that house or that zodiac sign, or a mixture of both. So I hope I tapped into everything I wanted to say about Saturn energy. I'm a Capricorn sun, so I understand this sad story of Saturn. It is no bueno. And but it's actually very rewarding, because you actually grow, evolve, learn. That builds self-esteem, that builds resilience. You feel proud of yourself that once upon a time, like, I never talked. I'm not curious. I'm an observer, and it took me a long time to practice speaking and feeling comfortable, not having social anxiety, and learning how to ask questions. It sounds really stupid, but that's what happened for me. I have Saturn in the 3rd house of Sagittarius, and I happen to have my Chiron in the opposite, Gemini, in the 9th house. So we'll also check out your Chiron sign in the zodiac sign and the house that one is in, because they kind of might relate to each other. Because your Chiron wound, you tend to want it, or you want to be better at it. And sometimes your Saturn is going to be somewhere to where it might force you to help actually take the time over the years or whatever to kind of slowly build up and work on that Chiron wound placement over time. If you choose to work on it, because you can always choose to run away and escape and not face the reality of the situation, whatever that is for you. So that concludes my intro for Saturn. And in the next segment, hopefully I have time to just timestamp where the real zodiac sign starts. So yeah, check that out. So yeah, and please like and subscribe. Comment down below, what is your experience with Saturn? Most likely it's going to be sucky, sad stories. So just don't forget that you are on a public platform if you're sharing or oversharing. So yeah, okay. Okay, so if you have Saturn in the sign of Leo or in the 5th house, then you have basically, this is Leo represents the sun or the star or where you shine. It is apparently the most popular because everybody kind of goes by their sun sign because they tend to not know about the complexity of astrology and all these other things, at least not yet. And so when Saturn, a very cold, harsh, critical, mundane, cold sign enters the sign of Leo, where, you know, you're supposed to be happy, supposed to be shining what you are talented at. What are you creative in? Trying to be brave, charismatic, entertaining, playful, romantic, charming, having fun, because it's the house of fun. It's the house of uh, fine dining or eating for fun, drinking for fun, playing in the bedroom for fun, casual dating, just the introductory phase of getting to know someone and going on dates, and it's more exciting and it's like super romantic and giddy, and you have butterflies and such, and being kind of a hopeless romantic, and being able to creatively express yourself. Like if you were to go on a date, you tend to dress up more so than if you were married for 50 years, you know, like the energy is a little bit different. It, you know, and also it is the sign of children. I associate more of the sign of Cancer and the fourth house with childhood upbringing or childhood trauma. But since it's right next to the fourth house or Cancer, you know, it still has that kind of gradient, you know, like nothing is like cut specifically, you know, like these houses and signs kind of almost gradient around and blend a little bit together. Leo or the fifth house represents children or your children. It could be also the child within yourself, your own childhood wound, as well as, you know, maybe this Cancer fourth house archetype can kind of blend in that sense a little bit. So it is who you are authentically as a child, like your childlike nature, because one child can be into rocket science and doing experiments in the house, and mom and dad are afraid that they're going to blow up the house. And then another child can be very whimsical and into princess fairy tales, and another one is into military Nerf guns and stuff. So that is the natural child within yourself. So these are different pathways that it can kind of take on, just to keep in mind. Leo also represents a big heart and a leader. It, you know, if you believe in past lifetimes, you know, the archetype of Leo is like royalty. You came from bloodlines where you had a lot of people revolving around you, you know, whether you're just the leader that kind of led the village into safety, you know, hopefully, if you actually knew what you were doing. And hold on just a minute, I have to take a call. Okay. So think like royalty. You had a lot of people kind of looking up to you. You were the shiny person that people just came to for guidance, wisdom, just to lead the village to safety and progression. Because you could also be a leader that leads the entire village to their own death. You know, you made the wrong choice, you know, but they look up to you. So if you're a talented leader, hopefully with a big, good heart, because you have a healthy relationship with yourself, therefore you're going to have a healthy relationship with other people, then you're actually a really good leader. You have a lot of talent, you have a lot of charisma, and this kind of attention, attraction stuff that does come to you. But if you do not have a healthy relationship to yourself, then you will project onto other people. And, you know, I mean, the world revolves around a lot of people, unless we all just get along with robots or something in the future. But if you have a healthy relationship with yourself, with your inner child, you've healed your own inner child wounds, then you can feel like you can express yourself in a way to where you don't need too much of it. You know, you don't need this constant attention and praise, or trying to overdo what the lack of that you got in childhood, or what always kept pushing you down. So when Saturn is in the sign of Leo, it's kind of like, you know, if you watch the first segment of this video, maybe you're looking at this video for the house placement if you have your Saturn in a different sign. So look at both to get a little bit of a mix of how it might be playing out for you. What I was going to say, when Saturn is in the sign of Leo, it's like it's restricting. It is restricting the person's shine. It is restricting the person's talent. It is restricting the person's creativity, their authenticity, of that they're good enough, you know, like they also deserve, you know, the spotlight once in a while. And a Saturn kind of just like shoves you down and says that, no, don't do that. You're embarrassing me. No, don't do that. You shouldn't do that because, you know, nobody does that. It's just bad. I don't know why, but it's just bad. So you stop doing that. You're annoying me, you know. Or Sun also represents the father. So, and Saturn kind of has this fatherly energy to the planet, even though it's a feminine sign. But it has this kind of disciplinary type of energy to it. And Sun, when it's like Saturn is karma, you know, this is in this lifetime, this Saturn placement is where you're living out your karma from possibly previous lifetimes. I don't know what, because I haven't died and came back to tell you my version of an NPD experience. But maybe your father was gone, or you had an unhealthy relationship with your father, or maybe you had a very narcissistic father who, no matter what you did, or no matter how you tried, or no matter how many times you tried to do what you wanted to do and express the way you wanted to express, you're always put down and criticized and restricted, you know, and kind of compressed into something smaller, or made to feel smaller. And so the Saturn energy throughout your entire life, and when you enter your first Saturn return, second Saturn return, if you live long enough, third Saturn return, you know, you're going to go through all these lessons that it's just this constant battle of just like feeling kind of squeezed or put down, and then you try to do more. You try to shine even more, or show how great you are, or how nice you are, how caring you are, or whatever blank that you are. You try even more, to the point where you might, you know, exhaust the people that are around you, or you're very dramatic, you know, like you over dramatize everything, because Leo is entertainment, and it can be kind of drama, because entertainment is the arts, talent, expression, self-expression, you know, so maybe you express yourself a little bit too much, to where it's just like, you know, other people are like, okay, you know, like maybe they're very tolerant and caring and understand your side, or whatever you're going through, or whatever you have to talk about, because maybe you're trying to get some kind of validation or praise or confirmation that, oh yeah, like you're so great, or you're so wanted, or whatever, you know, like you might compensate by trying to overdo it, because this Saturn energy is that the climb, like no matter what, you're going to try and work at it, you know. And maybe you are working at it, you are trying, you know, but maybe you have to, if you are having problems with it, because not all of you are going to, you know, go in the direction of still constantly having like huge problems with this placement. It depends on what direction, you're taking it, other placements in your natal chart, and, you also have a choice. So you might be thinking of working on it by, the external things outside of yourself instead of looking within yourself. Like you have to do inner work, work and work and work, do that Saturn Capricorn energy within yourself, like, really self-reflect, really analyze, take a step back and, see like, why do I always do this? Or why, if you notice any kind of patterns, whatever relationships tend to go, because nothing happens overnight. And especially things don't even happen sometimes within 2-3 years. Sometimes, it takes a little bit longer to start recognizing these tiny little things that kind of, unravel or reveal themselves. And I think I'm starting to blabble on. Hopefully I'm still making sense too. But, if you're trying to work, diligently with this Saturn placement in the sign of Leo, working outside of yourself to gain more validation and praise, to show that, hey, you are good enough, you are lovable enough, you are talented enough, or whatever it may be, or you are romantic enough or desirable enough, whatever it is for you, or a great enough leader, a great enough manager, director, whatever it may be, depending on, how it's playing out for you. But, if you keep having issues with it and you don't know why, you kind of need to reflect about it with yourself, because Leo energy, just in general, because it's so bright and shiny, it's like you can't see it. You don't realize, how clearly stuff is, because it's so freaking bright. So you don't really see what you might be doing in order to cause the negative things that you kind of don't want, so, you might need a little bit of extra time and refinement to kind of heal yourself and see what you're doing. And also the negative part of Leo energy can be kind of narcissism and having a big ego and having a lot of pride, being a little too arrogant and a little too confident, and it's a fixed sign. So very, very, very hard to budge on these energies. So, like having Saturn here is like, you need to work on it. And with all of the fixed signs, they tend to be very stubborn and have a very anxious, hard time in trying to let go and move on, because, it could be caused by fear, fear or trauma. And, like if you've been doing something a certain way for so long, or you were taught, you grew up in an environment that was very dysfunctional and unhealthy, or that kind of did bad things to you, kind of really traumatized you, put you down, gave you low self-esteem, made you feel like you couldn't be who you authentically are and, shine, just as equally as everybody else, then it's going to come out kind of in a negative way. Or you might kind of dramatize things or feel like you're doing a theater act out in the real world, but in real life, it doesn't match at all. Like it is the show. It's kind of like social media, and you see the perfect, little family vacation, and everyone's dressed so perfectly. But when you actually maybe experience this group of people privately off of camera, you're like, whoa, that didn't match at all. That's not the stereotype or perspective or visualization that I thought y'all were going to be like. It's like, whoa, so be very just like cautious about that. So Saturn is trying to teach you how to love yourself and teach you how to be able to express yourself in a way to where there's less fear. Like, maybe you're overly criticized or something really bad happened to you, where this is like a natural response to project those unhealed wounds outward. And so it's trying to teach you to not over dramatize those things or project however you're projecting onto other people, the stage, the spotlight, your inner wounds. And it's going to take a really, really long time, but because Saturn is super slow. But if you try to see it in this way, hopefully you'll be able to heal and feel more at ease and at peace. If you're able to, what I tell people is whenever you're out in the real world, because everyone always says, oh yeah, I'm going to work on it, or I got it this time, or I understand, because you hear it, you understand it. But when it comes to application and behavioral change, it's not as easy, or sometimes you're just naturally doing it and you don't actually see what you're doing is the very thing that you said that you kind of understood. Same, I always give the expression with like fitness, otherwise everyone in the world would be fit and healthy and have very, very few health problems. But our habits are, very small, and sometimes your habit can kind of take you slowly on the path and trajectory towards success consistently, even if it's like, woo, like going this way. Or you can choose negative habits. Maybe you're unaware that they're negative habits, but if you're aware and then you keep, because you don't know why, this is just your coping mechanism or your escapist tendencies, or you just don't want to think about, doing the right thing because it's just not fun. It's not as fun as partying and being reckless or not caring or whatever. You actually have to work, and Saturn is work. You have to actually do the hard work, and nobody's going to do that for you. There's no school exactly catered to your needs. There's no mommy and daddy to help you. It's so cold and tough. Like, you're out in the piles of trash trying to find your own food. Like, there's no mommy and daddy to come help you and make you some soup, and give you cuddles at night, in the comfort of home. Saturn is like brutal, and it's like you have to actually work. You have to actually get out there and go search for food or go do the work on yourself. Otherwise, I guess, suffer or just be happy with whatever you got. But if you came for any kind of self-improvement or you don't feel happy, then I don't really know why you're watching any of these type of things in the first place, unless you're doing some kind of research on a group of people. So, you can also take, constant negative pathways that keeps going down to something that maybe led you to a path that you tried to escape before, or thought that you made changes, but they were not the changes that actually lead you to that fairy tale romance and beautiful life that you actually desire, because you're kind of seeking things on the outside. And if you don't realize that this is within yourself first, before trying to collect or gather things that are shiny, sparkly, make you feel good from the external, then maybe sooner or later, maybe too late, you'll realize that it was you all along, So hopefully it's never too late for anybody, but it can really hurt, and it's not fun, and Saturn is not fun. I'm a Capricorn sun. I totally understand feeling like having a rain cloud follow you wherever you go, and being like you get a small break of happiness, and then you're like, why me again? So it's kind of like that Leo is being squeezed and suppressed, and you always feel like you're not good enough, not talented enough, or not desirable enough, or not popular enough, or whatever, not perfect enough. And so you might want to showcase yourself even more, to be like, look how great I am. Come look at me. I'm a big billboard advertisement of wounding, and some people might recognize that and try to help, because they're more empathetic and caring, and they have talent, and they see that you have talent, so they feel like you're a match, and you can do great things in support of each other. But if you're too in need of validation, or look at how great I am, or how lovable I am, or look at my boyfriend or girlfriend who totally loves me, like, aren't you jealous? You should be jealous of the person who loves me, right? Like, I need to hear something, if you're doing things like that, and the people who are around you aren't with you for those reasons at all, you can come off as very draining, or like you're talking about the same thing over and over and over again. And it's kind of like, okay, or maybe you snap one day because you're actually not getting what you want, because that can be frustrating when you try and try and try and try, and you're still not getting what you want. You don't know what else to do, or somebody hurts you because they didn't give to you enough in the way that you perceive they should give to you, or bow down to you, praise you, adore you, self-sacrifice for you, then they hurt you. Now, even though maybe that it has nothing to do with that, and they just have good boundaries, they're just gonna leave, because why even bother, waste their time and energy and feeling drained and not having fun anymore, because you might be projecting unhealed wounds from yourself onto other people. And so they'd rather just go find other people to hang out with. There are over 7 billion people in the world. Why do they have to pick you? And that can hurt, because it's like, well, you might want to shine. I feel like out of the 7 billion people of the world, like, yeah, why not pick me? Like, I am good enough, because that is a wound that you need to heal. You should feel still good, secure, talented, good enough, charming enough, whatever it is, within yourself, on your own, without any of that. And then you can attract like a romantic partner, because, the house of Leo, or the 5th house is like the house of dating, and like, hey, pick me. Like, I see that you're so handsome or beautiful, talented, and whatever. I want someone like you to actually choose and stay with someone like me, because that will validate that I am good enough, but you have to actually believe that, and not fake it or put on a show in order to trap someone who may or may not also be like that, to actually stay with you, and like in fear that they're going to leave. That can create a lot of toxic relationship dynamics. But if you feel good on your own, and you feel whatever, talented, you can express yourself in a safe way. Know that if someone says something kind of rude or mean and you reflect like, yeah, that's kind of true about me, but you don't take it personally and lash back out at them, or kind of run away, avoid, or threaten them or whatever in self-defense, because you may think that, oh, that person is the mean one because they actually told me the truth about who I am. And that feeling within yourself of them saying something that you deeply know is kind of true, that hurt, and instead of sinking into it and sitting in time out like Saturn wants you to do, sit with yourself and think, why did whatever was said or done trigger me so badly? Because I know like it is true. It might not be something I like or enjoy, or it does hurt or whatever, but does that mean that you have to act or react in a over theatrical kind of way to then hurt other people? Is that really necessary? Or because Capricorn is a stoic, emotionally controlled energy, they can control their emotions to where they don't project that emotional pain onto other people. They have great responsibility for that. They will suppress and take on that burden of the emotion to themselves, whether or not it was done, in a just way, instead of try to project it out, because they're trying to be responsible with the environment around them. But that can be very cold. It's not lovey-dovey, or caring like a Cancer. I will kind of soothe your boo-boos and your wounds, or, oh, it's going to be okay, that kid was so mean to you, or whatever. Saturn is kind of like, toughen up. Not everybody's going to be nice. Not everyone's going to want to be your friend or whatever, and that's okay. And you don't have to have a pity party about it. Just go find another friend, because they're going to go find another friend. So why don't you just go do so? I don't know if I'm running on a tangent now, but that's basically kind of the lessons of Saturn in the sign of Leo. So teaching you how to be a little bit more self-expressive in a healthy way, not a fear-based way. You may be really, really talented, and work your way up, whatever the thing is for you. But you might not also want to shine. You might want to kind of keep your talents hidden in fear of being shamed or not good enough or criticized or talked behind your back. And it's not like in fear of it not being good. You might want to keep your talents kind of to yourself, or kind of shy and insecure about what you are good at, or feel like it might be embarrassing, or you might shame your family or anything, So Saturn kind of restricts any kind of talent, any kind of ways of self-expressing yourself, or showing, being showy or entertaining, or lovable, romantic, Uchi Gucci, like PDA. It can also be restrictive with children, or your dynamic with your children can be kind of suppressed or restricted in some kind of way. But you have to also look at, how did that happen to you, in order to possibly project that onto your kid, who's now mirroring and projecting it back onto you. Whether it's pretty obvious, or kind of like an inverse invisible kind of way. So yeah, I guess I'll leave it there. It's long enough. So hope to see y'all in other videos. Please like, share, and subscribe. I hope this, is helpful to you in any way and not like I'm trying to put you down or anything like that. Otherwise, I would just keep all this information to myself so nobody can get better, so think about it like that. I don't have to say a darn thing. I don't even know who you are. I say these things kind of out of the top of my mind. And, if I'm rambling about a certain topic or whatever that might come across as negative, it's so if you feel like it applies to you in some way and you actually take time to think about it, you actually have some person who actually doesn't know you to teach you something that you can actually work on instead of having it possibly said by someone kind of close to you and it kind of hurts even more. I am a random person on the internet, and I am talking to my phone. I'm not actually talking to you, even though it may appear that way to you. So take all of these things with astrology and in general as little stepping stones as how to get better, because it's very complicated. There's no one way. It's super messy. And you kind of, at the end of the day, you do know yourself, whether you show your true self to the public or not, or, you put on a facade to the world and you're completely the opposite deep down on the inside. So you know yourself better than anyone else. And so you have to just kind of do the work and think about, how did you become the way that you are? And maybe it is the stars. Maybe you chose the life that you wanted to live, and sometimes in order to have the positive, you have to experience the negative. Or if you got it so good in the early times, you don't realize how good you got it, and so you led towards a path that was detrimental and self-destructive, so whatever works for you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Check out my website, www.natashascreativewellness.com. You can book a pre-recorded reading with me to just kind of see what I come up with for your birth chart reading. And so, ta-ta. Okay, bye.
So